How's everybody doing? This is West 'em Up. It's Armchair All-American AFC West podcast. My name is Milo Hay. I'm coming from Denver, Colorado.
My name is Kay Campbell. I'm coming from Seattle, Washington.
And we're just here to fill you in about, I guess you could say Week 10 action that went on. There was only 2 games, so that section will probably be pretty short. And then give you previews for this week coming up. And also any relevant news. So we're going to start out with news. What do you have, Kate?
So coming out of Denver, Colorado, your neck of the woods there, Milo. It's just been an ongoing saga over there with the quarterbacks. And I believe Brock Osweiler has gotten the starting position for this upcoming game against the Cincinnati Bengals. But he was limited in practice today. And I guess Paxton Lynch was the number 2 quarterback. So what's your thoughts about that?
Well, I mean, just from us having this show, this is our 10th episode. So a little bit of a mark there for us. But talking to you, you know how I feel about Paxton Lynch. I just not really a fan of the guy. And, I had high hopes for Simeon. It looks like Simeon's going to be put on the shelf here. So, I mean, Osweiler, he did kind of take a beating in that game. Patriots were just too much for, the whole team to handle in general. So, a quote from Vance Joseph himself is he said Paxton Lynch did fine, did fine as the number 2 quarterback in practice. So that goes to show you that they might not have confidence in their former number 1 pick, last year's number 1 pick.
Yeah, exactly. Chad Kelly, I think they put him on IR a couple weeks back, and then Paxton Lynch, I think it was his first time back since he got injured against Green Bay in the preseason game. And like you said, he looked fine and all that, but Brock Osweiler did get beat up, and I think he's, a loss away from also getting put on the bench and having Paxton Lynch come in there. So I think it's a great move for them to starting to have him play, with the second team and maybe get some first team reps, because it seems like it's only a matter of time before he comes in and, starts for the Denver Broncos.
Yeah, and I guess some other news that's kind of connected to this right now is the Buffalo Bills. I mean, they put Tyrod Taylor on the bench, and there obviously is some connection with him and the Broncos. 2015, the Broncos were looking into possibly signing him. So with, I guess you could say, the possibility of him maybe not maybe with like Brock Osweiler, he obviously has this 1-year contract. And then Paxton Lynch, who knows what's going to happen with him. Simeon, who knows what's going to happen with him. We could see Tyrod Taylor here with Kelly next year. So it might be a whole new backfield next year. But as of right now, Brock Osweiler's beat up, and it looks like they're preparing Paxton Lynch to evaluate him for the rest of the season.
Yeah, and it's kind of sad because I like to see Chad Kelly get in there too. I mean, the Broncos are 3-6. I don't want to give them, say their season's, done by any means, but, they're 3-6 and it's looking downhill from here. So it'd be nice to see Chad Kelly in there, maybe give him a few opportunities to see what he can do. But, going to Tyrod Taylor, getting benched, they're playing the Chargers this coming up week, and it's kind of confusing move from my standpoint. I'm not a big Bills fan, but when they played the Raiders and when they played the Broncos, the Bills beat both those teams, and he looked, pretty good. He has 10 touchdowns on the season, 3 interceptions, and it's just confusing. I've been reading up on it, and I guess a lot of Buffalo Bills fans are happy that the coach did this move. What's your opinions on it?
I totally agree with you. It is, to me, I'm a little confused on why they're doing it. He did have a bad day Sunday, but you got to look at the team he was playing, the Saints. And the Saints, we all know them as an offensive team. They've always been an offensive team since Sean Payton first came there, and obviously with Drew Brees there as well. But their defense is exceeding expectations right now, and they're truly one of the best defenses in the league. So, they made things hard for Tyrod Sunday, and they also made things hard for the offensive line. They made things hard for LaShawn McCoy. So, really, I I'm gonna say that it's really not the guy's fault. He just, it might be a combination of, I guess you could say, poor offensive performance, especially up front on the line, and then the play calling that is there in Buffalo. Tyrod, he's one of those quarterbacks. He can get out of the pocket. He can throw on the run. He can run downfield. But then obviously with the Buffalo Bills, they just seem like a team that likes to run the ball more, give it to the running backs or throw a quick short pass, and teams have caught on to that. So that's why the Bills have, kind of dropped out of the race a little bit in the AFC East.
Yeah, exactly. They've dropped out, and I think it was a part of that was a big. The Saints did have a lot to do with that game, and I think a lot about to do with his benching he's got put on him. But I would love to see him in the Denver Broncos uniform. I think he'd work perfect in that system. Especially we got to see what CJ Anderson and like the backfield looks like next year, because that's a big factor for this offense is the play action fake. But he would be perfect in that system. And then go ahead.
I was just going to say, I mean, you look, and you mentioned it, the backfield of the Broncos. That's one thing that needs to be addressed. You look at the AFC West talent in the backfield, and you have Marshawn Lynch over there in Oakland. I mean, he is getting up there in age, but the guy, when he's on, he could still run that their offensive line run-wise hasn't been as great. It's more equipped on protecting Derek Carr in the pass. But then you look to San Diego or Los Angeles, and they're a team that has Melvin Gordon, and obviously Melvin Gordon, we'll get to him, I guess you could say his poor performance this past Sunday. But, they had their rookie running back, Austin Eckler, show up. So, I mean, those guys definitely got something going on. And then you look at the Kansas City Chiefs, they just seem to always get a really good running back that is one of the lead backs in the league, stretching all the way back to Priest Holmes.
Yeah, it's definitely something that the Broncos are going to need to figure out here soon, because I've been hearing stuff about CJ Anderson on Twitter this last week, and there's just been a lot of talk around there, and he's saying that if I'm not here next year, why are you guys mad at me right now? So there's definitely going to be some changes coming from Denver. And then sticking on the Bills, transitioning to the Chargers. They're playing the Chargers this next week. Phillip Rivers is actually on concussion protocol, and he was limited in practice Wednesday. And I guess he has 194 consecutive games starting streak. Do you see him playing on Sunday? And does it affect the Chargers' chances of beating the Bills?
It definitely does. And I will say I do see Phillip Rivers playing on Sunday. This guy, I mean, he truly is a man's man. I mean, you remember, what was it, 2007 when he played that AFC Championship game with the torn ACL or, damaged knee. I can't remember if it's ACL or MCL. But he tore his ACL, tore his knee up in that game and played pretty much the whole game with a knee that wasn't working. So this guy, I mean, he got injured on Sunday's game and reported to camp, or reported back to practice, and said, I'm having some concussion-like symptoms. So that just goes to show you that this guy is just wants to be out there on the field, wants to help his team in any way. I would say, honestly, they would have to take a good look at him Sunday to see if he could play. But, they got a decent backup, and Kellen Clemens, right? He'll be the one projected to start. But they got a decent backup, and obviously their run game is good. But the Bills are still no pushover. They just happen to get, thoroughly beat by the Saints this past Sunday, which is not a reflection on who they really are. But, I could definitely see Phillip playing on Sunday.
Yeah, I can see him playing on Sunday too. Like you said, he's the man's man, and I swear, like every time you see him throw an interception, he is running to like tackle the guy with full force, and that's why I love watching him play. Man, he just doesn't take any prisoners and leaves it all on the field. But yeah, I think the streak's the fourth longest in NFL history at his position, and it'd be sad to see him not play, because I mean, we both know, when we've been talking about it for weeks now, is that his success is what brings this Chargers team the most, gives them the most, the best chance of winning. The best chance of winning, and they need him out there if they're gonna go to Buffalo and play the Bills.
Definitely so. So,
or I guess my bad. I guess it's in LA. So.
Oh, LA. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, he definitely gives them the best chance. I mean, they're 3-6 right now. Honestly, they did make some key mistakes in the game, which we'll get to here soon. But generally, you're looking at a team that possibly could have been tied with, the Chiefs up on top of the AFC West right now, with the exception of a few of their losses that were just, I guess, shortcoming of what their identity really is. This team does have a new head coach, so it'll be interesting to see where he is at on Sunday. But we'll get on next to Kansas City Chief news. Reports are coming out that after one game back, Tamba Hali, he just came off the physically unable to perform list on week 9. Played in that game a little bit. They had their bye week last week, and there's a good chance he might not be able to play this week. What are your thoughts on that?
Man, it's sad to see him, come back for only one game and get injured like the way he did, and like maybe not be able to come back. And he's had a great career, and I think it's he might be over the hill. He's been in the league for a while, and it's just sad to see him go down because I think he can bring a lot to this team and put them in playoff mode and make a push for the playoffs and even a Super Bowl at that chance.
Yeah, and honestly, I mean, we were just talking about it before we started the show. I can honestly see him, maybe announcing his retirement soon. If he does happen to do it this season, the Chiefs will use that as a means to push through the playoffs and hopefully get to the Super Bowl. Something they haven't done, I believe. Wow, I know they were in one of the first 5 Super Bowls. I believe
single digits.
Yeah, single digit Super Bowl. So something they haven't done in quite some time. But if he does that, that would be great motivation for this team. But like you said, he's getting up there in age. He's over the peak of the hill and just on a decline now, and just coming back and playing, not even the majority of a game, and your knees are that sore. It doesn't look good for him.
Yeah, he's an all-time player for the Kansas City Chiefs. He's been to 5 Pro Bowls, 2 second team All-Pros, and he's just been there forever. I mean, I can't imagine a time looking back at my life where he wasn't on the Chiefs. It just seems like he's been there forever. And maybe it is time for him to call it quits, but he left one hell of a career out there, and best of luck to him in his future.
Yeah, be sad to see him go. I mean, good for all the other AFC West teams, but we definitely tilt our cap to you here at Armchair All-Americans, if that's the case.
Mm-hmm. So the last news coming out of Oakland finally is the cornerback, the first round draft pick, Garyon Conley. He is putting on the IR this week, and they activated defensive tackle Darius Lantham. Excuse me if I got his name wrong, but he's returning from a 4-game suspension for violating the league's substance policy. But he is a defensive tackle, and we all know, it's no the Raiders aren't hiding anything. We all know the secondary is the weakest link on that team. And is it surprising for you to see them activate a defensive tackle rather than a cornerback or a safety?
I mean, I would say sort of. If they're going to make a playoff push, they need to see what's available on the market, And with the one thing I will say that's positive of them activating a defensive lineman is they do have arguably one of the best defensive coaches since I would say the early 2000s, in Jack Del Rio. So, this could be a good thing for them. Maybe, they're coming up with some new schemes to help, but they're definitely going to need them this Sunday when they when they host the Patriots. So we'll just let this play out for now, and I guess we'll have a better understanding of why they activated a defensive lineman come next week.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still confused too because you see David Amerson, he's also out. He started a lot of games for us this year, and there's that secondary is just it's the weakest link, and just teams pick it apart. You saw it against the Dolphins this last week. Jay Cutler just picking them apart. Even Jay Cutler went off on them, but yeah, it's going to be weird to see what they have planned, but hopefully it's good, and hopefully they can use it to advantage and maybe make a playoff run here soon.
Yeah, let's hope so. I mean, the AFC West has definitely been a little underwhelming this year, and it would be good to see at least 2 teams from the AFC West make it. The likelihood of that is very slim. So we'll just have to see how this last month and a half, little over a month and a half goes, and go from there. So back to our first conversation. Wow, I know you probably were excited as I was to watch the Patriots, be hosted by the Broncos on Sunday night. I thought it was a game that they could maybe upset New England, at least put up a good game, but it was far from that. What are your thoughts about how poor the Broncos performed with the Patriots?
It was underwhelming. It was a letdown. I mean, basically not from the offensive standpoint, because I don't want to put all the pressure on Osweiler. I think he's doing well coming in as a backup midseason, but it's just that defense. I know they're still ranked the 3rd best defense in the league, but they've given like 92 points, I think, or something around there these last 2 games, and it's just unbelievable how lackluster they look or how average they look, because you're used to these guys dominating a game. And for the Patriots to come to Denver, Mile High Stadium, and demolish the Broncos like that it was shocking to me. But you could tell by the opening quarter when McKenzie fumbles the football with 3 minutes into the game. It was just another one of those Broncos games where they just seemed to like beat themselves and not believe in themselves, and it just continued through the whole game. What was your thoughts, Milo?
Oh, it was a tough one to watch, and obviously being a fan of the Broncos and writing for Armchair All-Americans, I wanted to watch the full game so I can write an article afterwards. But to point out something you said earlier, I believe let's see, it was 92 points that they let the opposing team score on them in the past 2 games. Mm-hmm. Well, during this 5-game losing streak, the Broncos have only scored 68 points, while the opposing team has scored 165. So, I mean, you're looking at that. That is a major issue right there. And it just goes to show, like, yes, this defense is good, but this defense can only do so much. And I think the defense is starting to feel the pressure. There's obviously a lot of issues on this defense that need to be addressed. And, such as covering tight ends. There's going to be, like some linebacker issues at the end of the season that they'll have to fill and this and that. But really, it was the special teams that failed on Sunday, and that put the Broncos in such a funk. And like you said, McKenzie fumbles to start the game off. And so that gives, they had a 3-and-out right there. If they would have kept that ball, they could have drove upfield and possibly in a different game. Well, after the Patriots score, Brock had a nice drive to get them a field goal. Okay, this game might go well. You're thinking that. Well, right after that, what happens? 103-yard kickoff return from the Patriots. So it was just like, wow, this. As much as you don't want to say, you're like, this game probably is in the books just with that play right there.
Oh yeah, I mean, 1 week it's the offense, and then the next week it's the defense, and now this week it's like the special teams. It's just like these Broncos can't catch a break. And I mean, you look at the time of possession, that's basically even. And then total yards, I mean, New England out yarded them, I guess, by 60 yards, but that's really not that much. It's just these Broncos, it's just the defense. And then the offense, I don't want to put it on Osweiler, but it seems well they're scoring, but they've had I think 8 scoring drives in the past 2 weeks, and 6 of those have been field goals. So it's not like Osweiler can't get the ball down the field; he just can't score a touchdown. And I think that's a big issue too, because if you can't finish, then you're only scoring field goals, and then you're always playing behind, especially against the Eagles and the Patriots.
Yeah, and not to call him out, that was an issue that we had when Osweiler took over for Peyton Manning back in 2015. Is that sure he was able to get the guys downfield here and there and get a field goal or maybe get a touchdown here and there, but at the end of the day, it wasn't enough. They were just excuse me, they were letting teams, drive downfield and score enough quality points on them to edge them out. So that's like we said earlier, it's going to be a long off season for the Broncos, and even the off season has probably already started for them. They're probably got their scouts out there, and they're probably watching hard on how to improve this team.
Yeah, they probably should. I mean, I don't want to give them, you say their season's over, but it's looking that way. And I don't want to give them too much crap because they did play the Eagles and the Patriots these past 2 weeks, and they're 2 of the top 5 teams in the NFL right now. So, I mean, maybe they can come back. I think they have an easier schedule come from here on out. But I want to Osweiler, 221 yards, a touchdown, interception, not bad for his second week under center for them. The rushing, not too bad. You have Charles 38 yards, Anderson 54 yards, but I feel like they didn't make that big of an impact. They had a couple good drives where they were running all over the Patriots, but the Patriots defense is ranked 30th, and you got to run better against that. But Emmanuel Sanders, man, a good highlight for the game for the Broncos. This man was going off, and it seems like him and Osweiler are connecting really well.
Yeah, and for him to come back, this is his first game back since it looked like he damn near ripped his foot off that game. But yeah. For him coming back this game and 137 yards, 6 catches, that was like, wow, man. This guy, if this game is going to work for us, it's going to be that hookup right there, Osweiler to Sanders. And it just seemed like once, New England started keying on that matchup, nothing would come of it. They got beat here and there, but, they made sure to cover over the top so Sanders couldn't get too far down the field. But one thing I want to point out, you just mentioned how New England has the 30th ranked defense. Well, during their 5-game win streak, they haven't allowed one team to score over 17 points on them. And heading into this game next week with New England, who they'll play Oakland Raiders, I guess we'll get on to that game here soon. If they can keep doing that, this New England team might be unstoppable. So really, you're looking at who people regard as the greatest quarterback of all time. He didn't even have to do too much for this game. He had an exceptional game, like always, but he didn't even do too much for this game. And it was all just how well the defense played for New England and how much the Broncos kept shooting themselves in the foot.
Exactly. I mean, like you have a touchdown returned off a kickoff, and then you have a blocked punt, and then you have all these other stuff that happens shooting themselves in the foot, the Broncos did. And then the Patriots, the defense looked lackluster a couple drives, and then, they looked dominant a few other drives. And if the Patriots can score off special teams, then this team's going to be unstoppable. It should be like they should just have a ride at the Super Bowl, because you can't let Tom Brady have scoring. You can't have special teams score when you have Tom Brady as your quarterback, because 3 touchdowns, 266 yards, and then he just spreads the field with all the receptions he gives his wide receivers, and they're looking dominant just like last year.
Oh, exactly. And before we get into the Oakland game, let's jump to this Denver and Cincinnati game. So Denver, they will be at home again this week against Cincinnati. They're actually I would say heavily favored in this game to pull it out and win. What are your thoughts of Cincinnati coming to town?
So both these teams are 3-6, and Denver is heavily favored, and Osweiler is about to get the start again. That's what Vance Joseph said this past couple days. And I mean, hopefully, I think they're going to end up winning this game. They both these teams have had like kind of the same season, had high expectations early on, and then they've kind of fallen off the spotlight in the NFL. But yeah, I think that Denver definitely has an advantage of the home field advantage, and I think they're going to pull off this one. How about you?
I'd say Denver has a great chance, especially with the tight end struggles of Cincinnati. I mean, Eifert hasn't played at all this season now. I don't believe so, and if he has, it's been very minimal. And so that's something that Broncos have been struggling with. So I could see them winning that position battle. But the thing that Cincinnati's good at is obviously Andy Dalton is a passer. So they'll use Mixon. They'll use Giovanni Bernard. I think is he injured right now? I'm not too sure. I'll have to look that up for y'all. But excuse me. Yeah, so I could see them, having backs come out the backfield and trying to expose the weak interior of the Broncos defense right now. That's really where they've been getting beat. If the Broncos can handle that, they can easily win this game, especially with like Demaryius Thomas heating up, and you got Emmanuel Sanders back. He's heating up again. And then they just need to reestablish the run. I mean, C.J. Anderson, 126 carries this season, 536 yards, only one touchdown. So it really goes to show you that the Broncos lately have just, fallen off of the, hey, let's run the ball kind of game plan. So, if they can get back into some of that groove that they have been having, then, yeah, they could possibly win this game. But, it's just tough to see either team performing well this week.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as you. I think Denver needs to establish that rushing game, because once they do that, it opens up the wide receivers, the play action fake, and they just excel when it comes to that. And then this defense, I feel, they're at rock bottom right now, it seems like, and they need some confidence boost. And I know the Bengals probably make it a game plan of Andy Dalton, AJ Green not being suspended, all their offensive weapons coming. They're going to attack this defense. And hopefully the Broncos can stand their ground and, make some big stops and get back to being the first-ranked defense that they were all through the whole season until this week.
Yeah, they'll have to hold Cincinnati to like 5 yards total offense and negative points. So let's hope for that. I'm just joking. But, we'll jump off that topic. Let's get into one of the bigger games in the AFC West this week, and it's going back to the Patriots and the Raiders. Raiders, of course, had the bye week, so they got well rested. They probably got in a lot of good reps to just get together and really be cohesive as an offense. The defense still is suspect, but you being a Raiders fan, how do you feel about this game?
What I feel about this game is that I'm glad that it's in Oakland, because I feel like if it was in New England, it'd be already over. I think the Raiders have definitely gotten on a groove on their offensive game. Marshawn Lynch having those 2 touchdowns last week, and Derek Carr looking healthy, throwing the ball well and throwing deep passes again. But I just see New England winning this game, honestly. I think it is an upset alert. I think the Raiders do have a chance of upsetting New England and making that push to the playoffs. But New England looks too good right now, and the offenses has just been like a roller coaster ride. Like we've been saying on the podcast, they've been good weeks and they've been horrible weeks. And New England's defense, the 30th ranked defense, and the Raiders, I believe, have the 24th ranked offense. So they're going to have to come and attack New England. I don't think they should play, hesitant at all, but we're going to see the Sunday, and I want to say New England takes the game.
Yeah, and, it's great of you to bring up just them being on upset alert for this game. I mean, looking at the roster, obviously Derek Carr, far superior quarterback to what Denver has right now. And then you look at who they have on their receiving squad, and you got Crabtree, you got Cooper. Is Holton healthy right now? Do you know?
Holton, yeah, he is healthy.
Okay, so you have Holton, Patterson, Roberts, and then Jared Cook, who's the leading receiver. You also have Washington, who's a speedster coming out the backfield. Richards, who does pretty well here and there. And then you have Marshawn Lynch. So they really are stacked up on offense, and they have what it takes to expose the Patriots defense that gives up a lot of yards. The Patriots have been great in the red zone and limiting teams to field goals, but I don't see them really limiting the Raiders to too many field goals in this one.
Yeah, I think the Raiders' only chance of winning this game is if they make it an offensive battle. If they attack the Patriots and attack that weak defense that they have, then they'll end up winning. But if you make it, you don't score that many points, I think Tom Brady and that offense is just too good. They'll just control the game and won't give the Raiders that many opportunities that this Raiders team needs, the opportunities to win games, because their defenses are so bad that, it relies on their offense more heavily.
Yeah, and they actually they have their defense is ranked a little better than the Patriots, I believe, and so that's a battle that might be won there. But like you said, it's a back and forth game. It's like playing chess. You're gonna have to move your pieces. You might have to be patient to see what opens up, but then at the same time, you both have that firepower to just have this unexpected move out of nowhere where you can get it downfield and just destroy the opposition. So really, it is going to be an offensive battle, or it has to be, for the Raiders to come out on top. And if the Raiders win this game, looking at the rest of their schedule, they do have a pretty tough schedule for the rest of the year, but that puts them in good shape to at least compete to try to get back in the AFC West chase.
Yeah, if they win this game, they finally get back to 500, and then they have the Broncos, who is a division game, so it's always going to be tough, and then they have the Giants right after that. So, these next 3 games are very key to their playoff push and their season, the future of their season. But yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens on Sunday, and if they keep it close and hopefully they have the last possession, then I believe Derek Carr will pull it out. But just don't rely on that defense. Too suspect for me.
I hear that. It's that probably is going to be one of my favorite games to watch this week. Anybody that beats the Patriots, I'm just happy for them. So
same over here.
So they just need to stick on their game plan. They need to be offensive. Jack Del Rio should not be cautious in this one. You need to just drive it downfield. You need to blitz Tom Brady. Even if you feel Tom Brady might get past you, don't rush 3. No, everybody's learned you rush 3, Tom Brady has time. You rush too many, Tom Brady gets the ball out to whoever's open. So, be patient, mix it up, get inside their head, and you can win this game.
And how can I please get the interception on the defensive end of the Raiders? I think they're the only team in history to not have an interception in 9 weeks playing. It's just sad. So hopefully they can get one, or maybe even a turnover, because they're the league worst in turnovers.
Yeah, and speaking on that, I'm sure Jack Del Rio probably mentioned that to his team this week and said, look, we need to practice tipping the ball at the line of scrimmage. If you see the quarterback even pump faking it, jump up, stick your hand up, do something to alter the path of that ball. So it'll be interesting to see. Let's jump into our next game. It was a true weird game on Sunday for the Chargers and Jaguars. I mean, I honestly thought that the Chargers had this game locked up and they were going to win this game. And then out of nowhere, I'm about to write the post-game article for this game. And I'm like, the Chargers defeat. And then, I look up and the game's still going on. I'm like, what's going on here? And it's tied. So I go and check it out. And sure as heck, it's tied. And they're about to go into overtime. And Blake Bortles couldn't do nothing, drove it downfield. They had to punt the ball. And then out of nowhere, interception.
Yep.
And they returned it all the way back. It was a good chunk of yardage, Phillip Rivers should have probably never thrown that ball, but they took it down all the way, and Jacksonville won the game off of Josh Lambo, who was the kicker for the Chargers earlier this season. What are your thoughts on this game?
Man, this game was crazy. It was one of my games to watch this last week, and it lived up to its hype. I mean, the first half, was kind of lackluster. It was 7-6 at halftime, and then like you said, the Chargers just took charge, and I thought they had the game in the wraps. With under 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter, you have the ball, and then one key thing about that, I think the first possession they had under 5 minutes was Melvin Gordon wasn't playing. It was Eckler, I think his name was, and he had a great game. Caught 2 touchdowns and 77 yards in the receiving game, but he ended up fumbling, and then that just was the turn of events. And then one thing after another, it's overtime, and then the Jaguars ended up winning. It was just it was crazy to see Gordon not in there, being maybe a Pro Bowl running back this year, and not trusting him that late in the game. I'm not sure if he got injured or not, but what's your thoughts on that?
To me, that was a big surprise. I was watching the game, and I did the same thing. I was like, where is Gordon? And I'm looking at his stats right now. He had 16 carries for 27 yards for a healthy, well, I should say really non-healthy, 1.7 average, his longest run of the day, 5 yards. He had more he had 5 receptions for 15 yards, so it just wasn't the Melvin Gordon we were used to. One of the biggest takeaways from this game is you had the Jaguars, who are number 1 in the league for getting to the other quarterback and sacking them. They didn't sack Phillip Rivers once in this game. You would think that the Chargers would have won this game easily since the Jaguars weren't able to sack him. So it just really was shocking that the Jaguars somehow managed to stay in this game. They seemed to get it together when they needed to, and of course, like I mentioned earlier, Lambeau just came through and essentially won this game for them. It's crazy. It's also crazy to think. Sorry for interrupting, but in the first quarter, Lambeau's extra point was blocked.
Exactly. Yeah, it was just a crazy game altogether. I think even the game-winning field goal, the Chargers got a hand on it, and I thought I was going to be blocked, but it ended up going in. And it was just a crazy game altogether. And then one big play was my man Joey Bosa. He actually had a sack this game, continued his streak. But he hit Blake Bortles late in the game. I think it was an overtime to keep the drive alive, and that's what ended up the Jaguars ended up winning on that drive. So it's just, you say the Denver Broncos shot themselves in the foot. I think the Chargers shot themselves in the foot twice for this game, because we've come accustomed to seeing them lose these close games, and it's just been a theme of their season this year.
Yeah, and the Chargers could have definitely been a lot better than they are right now, but if they don't get it together, it's this might be the last season that you see Phillip Rivers with the Chargers. So it's gonna be a hard one to swallow after this. This week we talked a little bit about it earlier. They host Buffalo Bills. So your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, them hosting the Buffalo Bills. I like their odds. I think they're favored 77-22 in the matchup. And the Bills are going to be playing without their starting quarterback, Tyrod Taylor, being benched. And I'd give them this game for sure. I think they didn't even have a bad game last week. I thought they dominated most of the game. Keenan Allen had a great game. Eckler out of nowhere. This kid had a great game. Phillip Rivers, 235 yards for 2 touchdowns and 1 interception, had a great game. But they just had the mental issues, and they just shot themselves in the foot. And I think they go to Buffalo and get a win for the first team in the AFC West to do that this year. How about you?
The biggest key, I think, for them is they need to stop. Obviously, they have what is his name? Nate Peterman coming in as the backup quarterback. Taylor's being benched.
Mm-hmm.
Their biggest key is to stop LaShawn McCoy. They've given up, I believe, 135 yards a game rushing. So LaShawn McCoy, he can go off at any moment. If they can handle him, this game is going to be a lot tougher than Buffalo thinks, and the Chargers could run away with the win.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they have the number 19th ranked defense, the 21st ranked offense the Chargers do in the league, and I think, like you said, the Buffalo Bills are going to rely heavy on LaShawn McCoy and Joey Bosa and Gordon and all them for the defense of the Chargers. Got to step up and come ready to play because, I thought they did well this last game against the Jaguars, but the fourth quarter and overtime they were absent and they made bad decisions, and hopefully they can come back and regain their reign of getting to the quarterback and stuff and dominate this game.
Yeah, the biggest thing is just we're going to have to see if Rivers is healthy for Sunday. We're going to have to see if Melvin Gordon can get his head back on his shoulders after a disappointing performance. And then their receivers are also they just need to keep stepping up and playing as well as they have. Keenan Allen, I mean, with his health issues the past few years, he's lasted a lot longer than you would expect. So, we're just going to have to see how this game goes. But it's two teams that Bills are overperforming a little bit, not necessarily on offense, and the Chargers are underperforming. So I can see this being a pretty good game this week.
Yeah, it's definitely an even matchup, and I can see it going either way. The Bills the Chargers actually being at home. My bad. I think I keep on thinking they're going to Buffalo, but hopefully the Chargers represent LA, man, because I know they get a lot of crap down there for being in LA. So hopefully they can get a win up in the StubHub Center. And Phillip Rivers, hopefully he can play too, because I don't want that streak to end or nothing like that.
Yeah, I hope he does too. I mean, he's not my favorite guy, especially the times you can say it too, especially the times he's being the Raiders or he's being the Broncos. It's just like, I hate this guy. He's cocky. he talks that smack. But, he is a great athlete, and he's just a man's man, like we said earlier. So and this is one thing I'm rooting for him is for him to keep going, for him to, keep get back into shape and just keep doing what he does and play as one of the best quarterbacks in the league.
Yeah. Hopefully he can be in there, because without them, I think the Chargers are no good at all. I mean, they're 3-6 right now. They're same position Denver is in. I don't want to say their season's over. They might go for a playoff run and get a wild card spot, but it's like the panic button. The button's on the fingers on the panic button, and I think if they lose this Sunday, it's over. And it's a do or die game, so hopefully they have all their weapons. But
I guess we're just gonna have to see, and like you said, if they lose this game, I don't really see their season continuing forward. And we'll have to even see if Phillip Rivers will be back for another season. He'll be 36 in December. So that could be, this injury could be a sign to him like, hey, look, maybe I should just hang it up. I believe Phillip Rivers, he has like 1 million kids. So he has been like wanting to spend time with them. So he's kind of is near the end of his rope. But on to our last game, if anybody's willing to donate the money for me and Cade to fly out to New York, because tickets for the Giants game out in New York are starting at $32, which is you would think in New York it would be the talk of the town, and you'd be paying like $200 a ticket, $32. So obviously even the stadium in a certain sense is like, here, just come to our game, please. We need people here. So, I mean, the Chiefs obviously have this bye week last week. They're rested. They went through a couple tough losses here recently. They had the one to Pittsburgh, then they came back and won, and then they lost the past 2 straight, I believe. So what are your thoughts? What do you think Kansas City did this past week to prepare for Pittsburgh? Or prepare for New York, I should say.
New York, I mean, they might have spent like 30 minutes extra in the film study or like 30 minutes out on the offense and the defense, doing some extra reps, but I don't think they're too worried about going to New York, playing the Giants. I think the Giants ended up losing to the San Francisco 49ers, who haven't won all season. And man, yeah, I think the Kansas City Chiefs are actually favored 62. I think they should be favored well in the 90s, but man, yeah, I think they have this game in the bag. They had a bye week. Kareem Hunt had a couple off weeks here recently, and hopefully he got his head right. And then Alex Smith is going to come out and perform. I just think the New York Giants are under so much scrutiny being in New York, being from New York. I think it's just clouding their whole season, and I think this is an easy game for Kansas City. How about you?
It definitely is an easier game. The only thing I worry about is that front line for the defensive line for the Giants. They do have the potential to wreck stuff up, but even going past this game, if the Chiefs can win this game, they have a fairly reasonable schedule to finish the season. At least, they could potentially go 12-4. I mean, you're looking at what the only team with a winning record as of now that they'll be playing going into the rest of the season is the Buffalo Bills at 5-4, and that'll be next week. And even so, if the Bills do lose this game to the Chargers, they'll still be 500. So every other team they're playing that is under 500. So if these guys can get it together, and like you said, the main thing is, where's Kareem Hunt going to be? Is he going to show up and be this outstanding rookie that's been tearing it up at the beginning of this year, or is he not? And by the way, let me correct myself. They lost two straight. After they lost to the Steelers, they lost to the Raiders, and then they came to Denver, beat Denver, and then they lost to the Cowboys. So, they just lost 3 out of their last 4, in other words.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, lost the last 3 out of the last 4. My bad. I forgot what I was going to say. But, they're at 6-3 right now. They go to New York. They beat them. They're 7-3. And, yeah, man, it's just that favorable schedule that you just brought up. I mean, that's just going to get their playoff mode going and their playoff run going, because I could see this team going deep into the playoffs. I know they had a early exit last year for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I'm going to check out the playoff picture right now, but give me a second. But I don't know if they're looking like to play the Pittsburgh Steelers. Oh, no, they're favored. Oh, yeah, they might actually play – no, they play New England right now, but we don't know what's going to happen. But, yeah, I mean, this team is looking good. It's looking good all season. They've had a few recent down weeks, and this game, I think, is perfect for them coming off the bye and getting into that playoff mode, because we're going to see them in playoffs no matter what. I feel like they're going to be this team, maybe if the only team coming out of this division.
Yeah, no, I mean, they just need to start from the basics, and that's all we've really seen from the Giants this year. It's just the basics from them. So if they can just jump into this game, not be too overly confident. I mean, everybody's like, oh, the Chiefs are going to blow them out. No, just come in this game, play your style of football, make sure Alex Smith is on. The dude's been playing ridiculous this year. Travis Kelce needs to get involved as well. Run all those trick Andy Reid plays, but obviously don't burn them out before the playoffs, because you'll need some plays left over for the playoffs. But they're a solid team. Their defense is a little sketch, but at the end of the day, they're a pretty solid team. They need to keep firing off on offense, and they can hang with the best.
Yeah, like you said, I like the point you said of their defensive line, the Giants. That is, they do, have a really good defensive line with Jason Pierre-Paul and those other guys. But you see that a game against like Denver early in the season, where the Giants came to Denver and everybody thought Denver was going to blow him out of the water, but they ended up winning. So, it only takes any given Sunday to have an underdog beat a favorite team. So, hopefully the Chiefs don't go up there with the most confidence and just get business done and take care and get the win. But, it might be an upset alert. I don't know. but I'm going with the Chiefs.
Definitely so. Me as well. Which will bring us to our last little segment, I guess you could say. Who is your? We'll start with defense this week. Who's going to be your defensive player of the week?
Defensive player of the week. I'm going to go with Bruce Irvin, actually, from the Oakland Raiders. I was going to go Khalil Mack, but I think Bruce Irvin doesn't get a lot of love. I think he's overshadowed by Khalil Mack, and he's a beast. Everybody knows him from Seattle, taking players up and just, sumo slamming them down to the ground. And I think he's going to have a big impact against the Patriots and get to Tom Brady and get in his head. And hopefully Oakland can end up winning that and have a great defensive performance. But that's my pick. How about you?
I'm gonna stay with you on that team and actually go on the opposite end and say Khalil Mack. He's due to have a big game. And what better confidence to have a big game when you're playing essentially the greatest quarterback of all time. So if the right plays are called, I can see him having a huge game for them, and at least maybe not in big ways like people would think. Thinking like what was the guy's name from Atlanta this past week that had 6 sacks in this game?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
He might not have a game like that. He might just get in Tom Brady's head and cause Tom Brady to throw a couple interceptions to a team that hasn't had an interception this year. So I'm definitely going with Khalil Mack.
Yeah, hopefully he can get to Tom Brady. I mean, they just need to, I feel like, have the confidence to rush him and not be so hesitant on defense. And, hopefully, I mean, you never know what can happen if you take a risk. So I think that's what the Oakland Raiders needs is those two guys, going full force, trying to get to Tom Brady's head.
Yeah. Who is your offensive player this week?
Offensive player. I'm gonna go with the Kansas City Chiefs coming off a bye week, going to the New York Giants. I think the New York Giants are what 1-8. I think Travis Kelce is gonna come and have a big performance. New York Giants secondary is kind of shaky like Raiders, and we all know Travis Kelce likes to get in the middle of the field and get open and make big plays, and I think it's his name's calling this week. How about you?
And funny, I'm gonna stay on the same team as you. I'm going with Kareem Hunt. He has had some down weeks here lately, and I just feel like, he's just too much of a great player for the Giants. I mean, they're gonna send their front seven to try to stop him up and try to do what they can to stop this guy, but he essentially is going to draw that attention in and take off and catch those short passes from Alex Smith and maybe have a great game like he did against the Patriots earlier in the season.
I think his last game he had 37 rushing yards, but he has 800 on the season, and I think he's waiting to unleash the beast again for the second half of the season, and that's a great pick, man. I could see him going off as well. It's going to be an offensive wrecking day for that Chiefs offense, I'm guessing.
Oh, definitely. One last thing I wanted to say. I want to show my appreciation to one NFL player who's not in the AFC West. He actually is in the NFC West, and his name. If you're a big sports fan, you probably heard about him this past week. But Marquise Goodwin, he early Sunday morning, his wife was giving birth to their son, and his son came out stillborn. And so he suited up for the game anyways, and he ended up playing. He only had one catch in the game. It was an 83-yard touchdown, and he left right after the game. And our my good wishes for him and his family are here. But just want to show the guy praise. That was a lot to get through and a lot to overcome, and just to be courageous and come out and play the game. That was definitely, what the NFL is about, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, nothing but respect for that guy. I can't even imagine my head place if that event happened to me. But for him to, have a game with one catch and go 83 yards and collapse in the end zone, and just it was amazing to watch. And nothing but good luck for that guy in the future and his family to get through this and all and all that.
Yeah, so that's gonna wrap up our show. Join us next week for another episode of West 'em Up, Armchair All American AFC West podcast. You can follow us on Twitter. We have the West 'em Up Twitter account, and then also you can follow myself, Milo C Hay, all in one word, 1287. Kay, do you have a Twitter, right?
I don't now have a Twitter. I only use it for the West 'em Up.
Okay.
You can follow me on IG at Cade Camp.
Okay, gotcha. So yeah. Once again, my name's Milo Hay. I'm coming from Denver.
My name's Cade Campbell. Pat on the back to us, Milo, 10th episode. It's a little milestone, but we made it through. And thank you to everybody who's listening, man. We appreciate you guys listening every week, and hopefully we can bring you some good content. So we'll see you guys next week.
Yeah, one last thing before we go, please, whether you listen to us off the website, armchairallamericans.com, or if you listen to us off of iTunes or anywhere else that you listen to our podcast, please don't be shy to leave us a rating or a comment at the end. Let us know how we can improve, or if you have some thoughts, also send your messages through to us on Twitter so we can, talk about the things that intrigue you guys as well. So, have a great night, folks.
All right. Doses.